Chosen one, there's a question that's been heavy on your heart for months, maybe even longer. You've carried it in silence, wondering if the struggles you've faced truly mattered. The question has echoed through your thoughts, especially in those quiet, restless moments when the weight of it all seems too much to bear. Did I pass? Did God see what I went through? You've experienced the long, drawn-out nights of uncertainty, when you felt alone in your journey, when the road ahead seemed unclear and the obstacles unyielding. And even though you've held on, stayed faithful, and endured, that question still lingers. Did it matter? Did your faithfulness, your persistence, your efforts to stay strong when everything around you is crumbling really make an impact? These are the doubts that have stirred within you, making you question the significance of everything you've gone through. Did God even notice? Did it mean anything to Him? But what if I told you that God has been watching all along? Not in the way you think, not in the way you've been expecting. See, we often measure success based on what we can see, the milestones we achieve, the endurance we demonstrate, the applause we receive. We believe that the test of our faith is about enduring the struggle, holding fast through the hardships, and showing up again and again, no matter how heavy the burden. And yes, all of that matters to God. But there's more to this test than just enduring the storm. There's a deeper layer that God is looking for, one that transcends endurance and faithfulness. It's not just about how long you lasted or how many times you got back up. It's about something even more significant. And this is where the truth begins to shift your perspective. God wasn't only watching your ability to stand tall when the winds were against you. While those moments were important, what God was truly focused on wasn't the outward strength you showed, but the deeper, quieter moments, the ones you might have overlooked or tried to forget. There was one specific moment, one singular instance that God paused time to focus on. It was a moment you didn't even realize was so crucial. It didn't come with fanfare or recognition. It wasn't a public declaration of faith, nor a triumph over a challenge. It was a moment that felt like failure to you, a moment when you thought you were at your weakest, at your lowest. You were exhausted, maybe even on the verge of giving up, and yet in that exact moment, God saw exactly what He needed to see. That moment was the one that stood out in heaven, replayed again and again by the angels, because it revealed your true heart, your real character, in a way that no public display of strength ever could. So while you've been wondering if your struggles mattered, while you've been questioning if God truly noticed what you went through, I want to reassure you, God saw it all. He saw more than just your endurance. He saw you in that moment of vulnerability, that quiet surrender when you felt like you couldn't go on any longer. And it was in that exact moment that God declared, "This is exactly what I needed to see." What you thought was your weakest moment turned out to be the moment that sealed your next season. Heaven has been talking about it ever since, but you haven't fully understood the significance of it. You've been looking for validation in the wrong places, thinking that your worth was tied to your performance, your visible actions, or how others perceived you. But God isn't looking for performance. He's looking for your heart. He's watching for those hidden moments, the ones that reveal your true self when no one else is watching. And it's in those moments that your true promotion happens. God has been paying attention, chosen one. He's been watching you more closely than you realize. And what He's seen is far more powerful than any outward show of strength. It's time you understand why those quiet, hidden moments were exactly what God needed to see. As we move deeper into this journey, it's important to grasp the weight of what truly matters. When you've been through what you've gone through, it's easy to assume that the most significant moments in your walk with God are those grand public displays of faith. Those moments when the world can see your strength, your endurance, your unwavering trust in Him. But what if the truth is that the most profound moments, the moments that carry the most weight in God's eyes, are the ones you've overlooked, the ones you've tried to forget? I want to share with you why these forgotten hidden moments matter so much, and how they reveal something far deeper than just your ability to endure it. When God looks at your life, He doesn't see things the way we do. Human perception is often limited to the outward. We judge by how long someone stood, how much they endured, and how visibly they exhibited their faith. But God is not concerned with outward appearances. He's concerned with the heart that beats in quiet moments when the applause has faded, when the lights have gone down, and when there's no one watching. This is where God truly sees you, where your real character is exposed, and where the test of your faith is proved. That's why when you felt most alone, most tired, most broken, God was watching. It wasn't when you stood tall in front of a crowd, or when you declared your faith in a loud, powerful way. It was when no one was around, and you thought no one was paying attention. It was in those intimate moments of surrender, when you didn't have the strength to pretend anymore, that God leaned in. You've spent so much time questioning whether the trials and the pain were noticed. You've wondered whether your struggle to keep going, to press through the darkness, ever really mattered. You've asked yourself, did I do enough? Did I show God that I was worthy of His blessing? But all this time, God was asking one simple question. Will you remain faithful when there is no one to cheer you on? Will you still choose me when you have nothing left to prove? These hidden, intimate moments are where your true self emerges. When the weight of the world has pressed down on you, and you've reached the end of your own strength, will you still choose to trust in God? Will you turn to Him, even when everything in you feels like giving up? It is in these moments when you feel like there's nothing left but brokenness that you prove who you truly are. This is what God was watching for. You see, the world may measure success by your outward accomplishments, but God measures it by your heart. He's not looking for how long you can endure without breaking. He's looking for how you respond when you break. It's easy to stand strong when the crowd is watching. It's easy to declare faith when everything is going right. But the real test, the one that truly counts, is how you respond when you have nothing left. When you're at your weakest, when all the visible signs of strength are gone, do you still trust God? Do you still choose to stay in relationship with Him? Even in your brokenness, God is not like man. He doesn't just see your performance. He sees your heart. And in that moment, when you were ready to collapse, when you were exhausted and empty, and yet you still whispered, God, I can't do this anymore, but I'm still yours. That's when God saw you. That was the moment when heaven stood still, when the angels leaned in, and when God declared, this is exactly what I needed to see. Not because you performed, not because you declared faith in front of a crowd, but because in your moment of weakness, you stayed true to who you are. You didn't walk away. You didn't curse God. You didn't turn your back. You stayed, and that made all the difference. This moment, chosen one, was not a moment of failure. It was a moment of surrender. And surrender is not weakness. It's strength in its purest form. It's easy to pretend we have it all together, to wear the mask of strength, but God sees through all of that. He's looking for the moments when you've exhausted every option, when you have nothing left, and yet you still remain connected to Him. It's in these moments, the ones you think don't matter, that God is looking for a heart that is real, a heart that is honest, a heart that chooses to trust Him, even when there's no evidence, no applause, and no guarantee of success. These are the moments that change everything. These are the moments that qualify you for everything that's coming next. In this test, you were not just being judged on your endurance. You were being judged on your character, on your ability to remain true to who you are when everything around you is falling apart. And let me tell you something, chosen one, you passed. You passed not because you were strong, but because you remained. You remained faithful when it was hard. You remained connected when you were broken. You remained present when all you wanted to do was escape. And in that moment, when everything else fell away, you stood firm in the love of God. You stayed. You didn't quit. You didn't walk away. You chose to remain. God saw that. And that's what changed everything. The world may look at you and measure your success by the external markers, how long you stood, how many prayers you prayed, how much you endured. But God measures it differently. He measures it by your heart, by the moments when no one was watching, when you were exhausted, when you felt broken, and when you chose to remain. That's what qualified you for your next season. Not your strength, but your surrender. Not your performance, but your authenticity. And that moment, the one you thought was insignificant, the one you thought was a failure, is the moment that heaven can't stop replaying. That's the moment that sealed your promotion. That's the moment that opened the door for everything that's coming next. You may not have recognized it at the time, but God was watching. And what He saw has changed everything about your future. So, chosen one, stop questioning whether you did enough. Stop wondering if God saw. He saw. And what He saw in that moment, that quiet, hidden moment, was exactly what He needed to see. And that, my friend, is what makes all the difference. As you sit with your thoughts, you might feel an overwhelming sense of shame when you think back to that moment, the one you believed was your greatest weakness. That moment when you felt completely drained, empty, and exhausted, and you thought to yourself, I can't do this anymore. You might have labeled that moment as a failure. You might have convinced yourself that it was a weakness, a sign that you weren't strong enough, that you weren't cut out for the journey. You might have felt like you let God down, like you didn't measure up to what He expected from you. After all, the world often tells us that strength is defined by our ability to keep going, to push through, to stand tall no matter the circumstances. But in that moment of weakness, when you felt like you had nothing left, you felt far from strong. In your mind, it was a moment of defeat, a moment where you thought you were failing God and failing yourself. But what if I told you that your perception of that moment is far from the truth? What if the very thing you saw as your greatest weakness was actually the moment that caught God's attention in a way that nothing else did? You see, in the world's eyes, success is measured by outward accomplishments. How long you stood, how much you endured, and how many visible victories you claimed. The world tells you that if you're strong, you'll be able to withstand every storm and stand tall through every trial. But God doesn't measure strength in the same way. God measures strength not by the outward performance, but by the heart that remains even in the darkest, quietest moments when no one else is around. And in that moment, the one you thought was your greatest failure, God didn't see failure at all. He saw something much deeper, something that no one else could see. He saw your heart. He saw your true character. And what He saw was exactly what He needed to see. When you were at your lowest, when you felt most broken, and when you thought you had no strength left to continue, that's when God leaned in. It wasn't when you were publicly declaring your faith or when you were standing tall for everyone to see. It wasn't when you were performing your faith for others to applaud. It wasn't when you were holding it together, acting strong for the world. No, the moment that caught God's attention wasn't any of those moments. It was the quiet moment when no one else was watching, when you were completely alone, when your defenses were down, and when you had no more strength to pretend. In that moment, God didn't see failure. He didn't see weakness. What he saw was something far more precious. He saw your raw, unfiltered surrender. He saw you in your most vulnerable state, and that's exactly what he needed to see. That moment, the one you thought was your weakest, was the moment that qualified you for everything that's coming next. Think about it. When you felt like you had nothing left, when you were exhausted and spiritually drained, when every ounce of strength you had seemed to evaporate, you made a choice. You could have walked away. You could have cursed God. You could have turned your back on everything. You could have allowed your doubts and your pain to convince you that it wasn't worth it anymore. But you didn't. Instead, you stayed. You stayed connected to God even when you didn't have the strength to stand. Even when everything inside you was telling you to give up, you chose to remain. And that choice, your choice to stay, to surrender, and to admit that you couldn't do it on your own, that's the moment that changed everything. God wasn't waiting for you to be perfect. He wasn't waiting for you to be strong. He wasn't waiting for you to have all the answers or to hold it together. What he was waiting for was your honesty. He was waiting for that moment when you could admit that you were weak, when you could stop pretending, when you could stop performing for the world and just be real with him. And in that moment of vulnerability, God said, "This is exactly what I needed to see." He didn't see failure. He didn't see weakness. He saw honesty. He saw trust. He saw a heart that was willing to be real, to be vulnerable, and to still choose him, even when everything seemed uncertain. And that, my friend, is what qualified you for the next season of your life. You might have thought that moment was insignificant, because it didn't come with the fanfare of public recognition. It didn't come with applause or accolades. It didn't come with visible success or the external markers that we're so often taught to measure our worth by. But God doesn't measure like that. He's not looking for how much we can endure on our own. He's looking for how much we're willing to surrender to him. He's looking for the moments when we let go of our own strength and trust that he is enough. And in that quiet moment of surrender, when you admitted that you were empty and you needed him more than anything else, that's when God saw everything he needed to see. This moment wasn't about how long you lasted or how many times you got back up. It wasn't about how strong you appeared to others. It was about who you were in that moment, when there was no one else around, when you had nothing left to give, and when you still chose God. That is the moment that God honors. That is the moment that God treasures. That is the moment that God has been replaying in heaven. Because in that moment, your true character was revealed. You didn't give up. You didn't walk away. You didn't turn your back on God. You stayed. You stayed in the relationship even when you felt broken. You stayed in faith even when you didn't understand. You stayed connected even when you had no strength left to stand. And that chosen one is exactly what God needed to see. Not your performance, not your public declarations, not your outward victories. He needed to see your heart, your true self, the one that doesn't perform for others, the one that is willing to admit weakness and still trust in his strength. That is what qualifies you for the next season. That is what prepares you for the promotion that's about to come. The world may measure you by your outward accomplishments, but God measures you by your heart, by the moments when you remain faithful, even when you're broken, when you trust, even when you're exhausted, when you surrender, even when you feel like giving up. And in that surrender, in that quiet moment of weakness, you've just opened the door to your next season. Now, as we begin to understand the true nature of God's gaze upon your life, It's essential to dive deeper into the power of those hidden struggles, those moments that you felt no one else could see. In the world's eyes, it's easy to define success by what's visible, the public victories, the battles fought with strength and conviction, the moments where others applaud your endurance. But God's perspective is radically different. His focus is not on what can be seen, but on what remains unseen. It's the hidden moments, the private battles, the moments when the world is unaware that truly reveal your character to God. These moments might feel insignificant to you. Moments when you believed you failed, when you were at your lowest, when you felt that your strength was all but gone. But it's precisely in these moments that God was watching. In the hidden struggles, God saw what others couldn't. He saw your heart, your integrity, your true self, the one that doesn't need to be validated by the world. But for most of us, the toughest battles we face aren't the ones fought out in the open. They are the silent wars waged in the depths of our hearts, behind closed doors, in the solitude of our most vulnerable moments. It's easy to feel invisible when no one is around to witness our struggles. It's easy to convince ourselves that if no one sees our pain, it somehow doesn't count, that it's not as significant. But I want to remind you, chosen one, that the moments where you felt unseen were the very ones that God valued the most. When you were alone in your car, exhausted and overwhelmed, feeling like you had nothing left to give, God was right there witnessing your heart. When you were on your bathroom floor, broken, feeling as if you couldn't keep going, God was right there seeing the truth of who you are. These private moments, these moments that you thought didn't matter, were exactly the ones God was waiting for. He was waiting to see how you would respond when no one else was watching. Would you still turn to Him, even when no one else could see your struggle? Would you remain faithful even when everything in you felt like giving up? That was the test, and that is what God has been replaying in heaven. God doesn't measure strength the way the world does. The world celebrates the loud declarations of faith, the public victories, the moments when we stand strong in front of others. And while those moments matter, they are not the moments that God is most focused on. God is not looking for strength that is built on performance. He is looking for something much deeper, a raw, unguarded heart. Strength in God's eyes isn't about holding it together in front of a crowd. It's about how you remain when no one is watching, when you've reached the end of your own strength, and you still choose to trust Him. It's in those moments of true vulnerability that your character is truly revealed. God isn't concerned with your ability to hold it together or keep pushing through on your own. He's watching to see if you can surrender, if you can admit that you can't do it alone, and if you can still stay connected to Him when you have nothing left to give. That is the strength that God values, the strength of a surrendered heart, the strength of raw honesty, the strength that admits its weakness but chooses to remain faithful anyway. So let's take a moment to think about the times when you felt like you failed, the times when you thought you weren't enough, when your strength seemed to vanish, and you thought you couldn't keep going. Maybe it was a moment of doubt, a moment of weakness, a moment when you felt like you had let God down. You may have thought that those moments didn't count, that they were just signs of failure. But in reality, those are the moments that God was most focused on. It wasn't about how much you endured or how much you pushed through. It wasn't about how many times you stood tall when the world was watching. No, it was about how you responded when no one was watching, when it was just you and God, and you had nothing left but your honesty. God is looking for real, raw, unguarded choices. The choice to turn to Him, to remain connected even when you felt like you had nothing left. These moments, these hidden struggles, are the ones that reveal your true character, the character that God is most interested in. The hidden struggles are where your true strength is formed. When no one else is around, when there's no applause, no recognition, no validation, and you're at your lowest, that's when God sees your heart. He sees if you're willing to stay connected to Him, even when everything else falls away. These hidden moments may feel insignificant to you, but they are the moments that God treasures the most. They are the moments that qualify you for the next season. They are the moments that prove who you truly are, who you are, when the world isn't watching who you are, when there's no need to perform or pretend. And it is in these moments that God sees your true self, the one that is real, the one that is authentic, the one that chooses to remain faithful even when it's hard. God doesn't want performers. He doesn't need people who can act strong when the world is watching. He doesn't need people who can declare faith when everything is going well. What He needs are people who can be real when everything is falling apart. People who can remain connected to Him even in their weakest moments. And that is what you showed Him. That is the moment that qualified you. That is the moment that sealed your next season. The moment you thought was your weakest, your most vulnerable, was the very moment that God needed to see. It was the moment that proved your true character. It was the moment that showed God that you could remain faithful, not because you were strong, but because you were real. And here's the powerful thing: God values authenticity over performance. The world tells us to perform, to put on a mask, to act like everything is fine. But God doesn't want that. He doesn't want your performance. He wants your authenticity. He wants to see your heart, your raw honesty, your willingness to surrender and trust Him, even when everything seems uncertain. It's in these hidden moments that your true strength is revealed. And those are the moments that God is most focused on. So, chosen one, the struggles you've faced, the moments you thought were your failures, those are the very moments that God has been watching. And those are the moments that have qualified you for the next level. God wasn't looking for you to be perfect. He was looking for you to be real. And in that, you've passed the test. In the quiet, sacred corners of heaven, there exists a room that most people don't know about, a room where divine attention is focused in the most intimate way. This room is not the grand throne room where constant worship rises like incense. It's not the prayer room where intercession fills the air, nor the spaces where angels sing their praises. No, this is something more personal, something more profound. It's a smaller, more intimate space, often overlooked by those who imagine heaven as a place of only grand and magnificent things. But in this room, the divine gaze is sharper than anywhere else in all of creation. This is the observation room, a place where God, in His infinite wisdom, allows His angels to witness the most important moments of human lives. It is in this room that God watches closely, not just with a glance, but with an intensity that reflects His love for His creation, His deep desire to understand and see what truly lies within. This is where your moments of faith, your moments of surrender, are examined and cherished. This is where, in your most vulnerable and hidden struggles, God's attention is fully focused. It is in this room that your most significant moments, the ones you thought no one noticed, are examined, closely analyzed, and ultimately celebrated. When you go through the trials of life, it often feels like you are alone in your struggle, as if no one truly sees the pain or the sacrifices you make behind closed doors. But in the divine observation room, God is not just casually watching. He's carefully and purposefully examining every decision, every choice you make. He's not just observing the grand moments, the public victories, the moments when you stand tall and declare your faith. Know God is keenly aware of the choices you make when no one is watching. He is watching how you respond when the world is unaware, when you are by yourself in the quiet of your room or in the solitude of your car. It's in these moments that God sees the truth of your heart. He sees the raw, unguarded decisions you make in the stillness, the choices that reflect who you truly are when everything else fades away. This is the power of the observation room. It's where the divine and eternal gaze lingers on the moments that most people would deem insignificant. But in heaven's eyes, these moments are everything. They are the moments that reflect your true character, the moments when you are stripped of your performance and simply left with your authenticity. You might feel like no one is watching when you face these personal struggles, when you are worn out and empty, when the world seems to be moving on while you remain stuck in your hidden battles. You might feel like your prayers, your tears, and your quiet moments of surrender are unnoticed by the people around you. But God sees, and not only does He see, but He cherishes these moments in a way that is beyond comprehension. It is in these moments that God reveals the depth of His love and His understanding for you. When you feel abandoned, or when you think you're failing, when you're on your knees broken and exhausted, God is standing there in the observation room, watching and acknowledging your struggle. He is not just observing passively, He is deeply moved by what He sees. When you make a choice to stay faithful, even when you have nothing left, when you turn to Him and say, "I can't do this anymore, but I trust you," that moment of surrender is what God values most. It's not about how strong you appear to others. It's about how you remain true to your connection with God. When there's no external validation, in the observation room, God examines your every move not for judgment, but for understanding. He watches how you choose to respond to life's challenges. He watches when you choose to hold on to hope, when you refuse to give up on your faith despite the overwhelming obstacles. He sees the quiet moments of bravery when you push through your pain and surrender your will to Him. These are the moments that God treasures, the moments that He holds dear and plays over and over again in the sacred space of the observation room. It is here that God sees the authenticity of your heart. He sees the quiet sacrifices you make, the private decisions that no one else witnesses. These moments are not hidden from God. In fact, they are the ones He treasures the most because they reveal the true depth of your love for Him, the raw honesty that is not dependent on human approval or recognition. They are the moments where you are stripped of all your pride, all your performance, and you are left simply with your heart unfiltered, unguarded, and real. When God watches you in the observation room, He is not simply assessing your ability to endure or your strength in the face of adversity. He is watching to see if your heart remains steadfast, if your connection with Him remains strong even when you are at your weakest. He is watching to see if you can stay true to who you are when the external circumstances no longer align with your desires, when the world seems to be falling apart around you. He is watching to see if in your weakest moments you will still choose to trust Him. And in the quiet, hidden moments when you thought no one was watching, you have made choices that speak volumes about your faith and your character. God is not looking for perfect strength. He's not looking for flawless performance. He's looking for the raw, honest, unguarded heart that chooses Him even when the world has turned its back. And that chosen one is what He sees in the observation room. Your private moments of faith and surrender are what qualify you for the next season of your life. In the divine observation room, there is no performance. There is only truth. God is not looking at how you perform for others or how you present yourself to the world. He is looking at who you are when you are alone with Him. when no one else can see, when you are stripped of all your external distractions, and you are simply left with your heart. It is in these moments that God sees the essence of who you are. And what he sees is not weakness or failure. He sees strength in your surrender. He sees courage in your honesty. He sees your heart that chooses him even when everything else is falling apart. It is in these private, hidden moments that you are truly tested. And it is in these moments that God reveals the true nature of your heart, the true depth of your faith. You may not see it, but God is replaying these moments in the observation room, cherishing them, because they reveal everything he needs to know about you. This is the power of the observation room. God doesn't just observe, he understands. He is not judging you for your weaknesses or failures. He is studying your heart, cherishing your authenticity, and honoring your surrender. And it is in these moments that he sees what truly matters. God isn't just watching your public victories or your outward declarations of faith. He is watching your heart when no one else is watching. He is witnessing your vulnerability, your honesty, and your unwavering trust in him, even when you feel like you have nothing left to give. And that chosen one is what truly matters in the eyes of God. Your private struggles, your hidden moments of surrender, are what qualify you for the next level, the next chapter, the next season of your life. It is these moments that God treasures because they are the moments that reveal the truth of who you are. And in those moments, you are more than just a conqueror. You are a faithful servant of God. And that's exactly what he's been waiting to see. There are moments in life when everything feels like it's slipping through your fingers, when the weight of it all becomes too much to carry, and you feel completely alone. In these times, the world expects strength. It expects you to stand firm, to keep moving forward, to never let your guard down. But what happens when there's nothing left to give? What happens when you're broken, exhausted, and empty? It is in these moments, the ones you experience behind closed doors, when you feel like you've failed, that God's presence is the most profound. These moments of quiet surrender, whether you find yourself in your car, on your bathroom floor, or standing at the edge of something, are not signs of weakness. They are not failures. They are moments of divine significance. When you think you've reached the end of your strength, when you feel as though you're defeated, that is when God's power is most evident. It is in these private, vulnerable moments that your true surrender takes place. And it is in this surrender that you make room for God to move in ways that are far beyond what you could have ever imagined. We've all had those moments when we're by ourselves in the stillness, perhaps in a car with the engine running, or sitting in the bathroom with the door locked, and we feel like we've failed. You feel like you've lost the battle, like everything you've been fighting for is slipping away, and no one sees the pain that's consuming you. You might think that your tears, your exhaustion, and your quiet cries for help mean that you've failed. But the truth is, those moments, those raw, unguarded moments, are the moments God cherishes the most. They are not failures. They are acts of divine surrender. When you're at your lowest, when you've given all you can, and you still choose to stay connected to God, that is when He sees the purity of your heart. That is when you are most aligned with His will. These quiet moments are the ones that speak the loudest in heaven. It's in these moments when you've lost all pride, when you are stripped of all pretense, that God can truly enter and work in you. These private acts of surrender are what make room for God to move in ways you can't yet comprehend. You might think that these moments are insignificant, that they don't count, because no one is around to witness them. But let me remind you, chosen one, that the Bible is filled with stories of great men and women who went through similar hidden struggles, moments when they felt as if they had failed. Yet these were the moments that defined their destiny. Job, for example, faced unimaginable loss and pain. He had everything taken from him, his wealth, his health, and even his children. In his most broken state, when everything around him crumbled, he found himself on the floor in the ashes, questioning why God allowed him to suffer. Job's private moments of surrender when he cried out in his pain were not moments of failure. They were moments when God refined his heart, shaping him for something greater. David, too, experienced moments of hidden surrender. In the cave of Adullam, when he was hiding from Saul, he could have chosen bitterness, could have chosen anger, or even revenge. But instead, David chose to pour out his heart to God in the quiet, hidden places. His heart remained surrendered even in the midst of adversity. And Jesus, in the Garden of Gethsemane, prayed in agony, asking God to take the cup from him, but ultimately surrendering, saying, "Not my will, but yours be done." These moments of quiet surrender, when no one else was watching, were the moments that set the stage for the victories to come. These moments were not failures. They were pivotal divine moments that marked the turning point for these mighty figures you chosen. One are no different. In your moments of quiet surrender, when you felt like you were at your lowest, you were not failing. You were being shaped. You were making the most significant choice you could make, choosing to stay connected to God, choosing to trust Him even when everything seemed lost. It's in these private moments, when you feel like you're falling apart, that you are being refined for something greater. God was there in the car with you. He was there on the bathroom floor with you. He was there when you were standing at the edge, unsure if you could take another step. And He is telling you today, just as He has told others throughout Scripture, that those moments were not your weakest moments. They were your strongest. They were the moments that positioned you for the next step in your journey with Him. The world may not understand the significance of these hidden struggles, but heaven sees them clearly. Heaven understands that it's not the public moments of strength that define you. It's the private moments of surrender. It's the quiet choice to trust God when everything else has fallen away. Just like Job, David, and Jesus, your moments of surrender are the ones that matter most. When you're at your lowest, when you feel like you've failed, remember that this is the moment God has been waiting for. He sees you, He treasures your surrender, and it is in these sacred, quiet moments that you are being prepared for the divine promotion that's coming next. So, chosen one, don't ever discount the power of these hidden struggles. They are not insignificant. They are the moments that change everything. As we continue to uncover the depth of your journey, it's essential to understand the three distinct levels of witnesses that shape your experiences, your struggles, and ultimately, your promotion. These levels are not just a way of measuring your journey. They are a reflection of the way God honors your choices, regardless of whether anyone else is watching. God measures your heart not based on the applause of others or the evidence of your actions, but on the raw truth of your decisions, especially when no one is looking. The first level, the most obvious, is the human witnesses, the moments when others see your faith, your actions, and your outward strength. These moments are public, and they often bring validation from others. You may have stood before a crowd, made a bold declaration of your faith, or shared your testimony with others. These moments are significant. They show the world that you stand firm in your beliefs, and they bring validation from your peers, your community, or even strangers who witness your strength. But while these moments matter in the earthly realm, they are not the moments that define your promotion in the kingdom of God. The applause you receive from human witnesses is fleeting, and though it can feel good in the moment, It does not carry the weight of eternal significance. These moments are necessary, yes, but they are only one level of witness in God's eyes. The second level is a bit deeper, the evidence witnesses. These are the actions that leave proof, the ones that might not be visible to the public, but they still carry weight. These are the times when you do something for the right reasons, even when no one is around to witness it. Perhaps you anonymously completed a task without expecting recognition, or endured in silence when the world didn't see your struggle. These actions leave behind evidence, tangible results that prove your dedication, your faith, and your commitment. You may not have received applause or acknowledgement, but you can point to the evidence as proof of your faithfulness. These moments are significant because they reflect your integrity, your determination to do the right thing even when no one is watching. Yet even these moments with their concrete results do not carry the highest level of witness in God's eyes. God doesn't need the evidence to validate your heart. He saw everything even when the world didn't. And He honors the heart behind the action, not just the action itself. While the evidence witnesses carry weight, they are still secondary to the third level, the one that carries the greatest significance in the eyes of God. The third level of witness is the most profound, the most transformative, and the most personal the heaven witnesses. This level is reserved for those moments when no one but God can see the truth of what you chose. These are the private moments, the raw, unguarded choices you made when you thought no one was watching. There was no applause, no validation, no physical evidence of your decision. It was just you, God, and your heart. These are the moments that define your true character. When you chose to remain faithful even in your weakest hour. When you chose to trust God even when you felt like everything was falling apart. When you whispered a prayer of surrender in the silence, these are the moments that God honors the most. These choices are often hidden from the eyes of the world. There is no fanfare. There is no applause. No one but God knows the depth of the surrender, the authenticity of the choice. Yet it is in these private moments that your true strength is revealed. It is when no one is around to validate you, when you have nothing left to prove, that God sees the purity of your heart. He sees your character not as a performance, but as raw truth. These are the moments that truly matter in the kingdom of God. The ones that shape your destiny and qualify you for what's coming next. Heaven sees these moments. Angels witness these moments. And these are the moments that carry the weight of divine promotion. In God's eyes, the heaven witnesses are the most significant, because it's in these private, vulnerable moments that He sees who you truly are. It's easy to stand firm when the world is watching, but who are you when there's no audience, when there's no evidence to prove your faith? Who are you when you have nothing left, when you feel like you're at your breaking point, and the only choice left is to surrender to God? It is in these raw moments that your true character shines through, and it is in these moments that God makes His judgment, declaring you ready for the next season of your journey. This is why the private moments, the ones you think no one notices, are so important. They are the moments that define you, the moments that determine your promotion. While the world focuses on external validation and public displays of strength, God is watching for the quiet, private moments where your heart is fully surrendered to Him. These are the moments that heaven is paying attention to, the moments that qualify you for the divine promotion that is on its way. So chosen one, when you feel unnoticed, when you feel like your struggles are hidden and your moments of surrender are invisible, remember that heaven sees. God sees your heart in the private moments, the moments where you feel weakest, where you feel the most vulnerable. These moments are not failures. They are the moments that reveal your true strength. And when God looks at these moments, He doesn't just see a broken person. He sees a heart that is fully surrendered, a heart that is faithful even when no one else is watching. That is a heart that qualifies you for everything that's coming next. That is the heart that will be promoted. As we continue to explore the essence of your journey, it's important to understand that God does not measure you by the standards of the world. He doesn't look for performance or outward validation. The world may tell you that success is determined by your ability to impress others, to achieve visible milestones, and to show everyone how strong and capable you are. But God is not concerned with these outward displays. He doesn't need you to perform or to prove your worth to anyone. He isn't impressed by public applause or earthly recognition. What He values, what He sees, is your true self. The version of you that is raw, unfiltered, and unguarded. It's the part of you that shows up when no one else is around, when there are no witnesses, no applause, no expectations. It's in those private, hidden moments that God sees who you truly are. When there is no one to impress, no one to prove something to, that's when the truth of your heart is revealed. It's easy to appear strong when you're in the spotlight, when people are watching and waiting for you to perform. But the true test of your character is in the quiet moments when the world is unaware of your struggle, and it's just you and God. Who are you in those moments? In these quiet spaces, God is watching, and it is here that your real strength is revealed. It is not in the moments when you've got everything under control, when everything looks polished and perfect, but in the moments when you're struggling, when you're vulnerable, and when there is nothing left but your heart. The true self is revealed when there are no external markers of success to rely on, no trophies, no recognition, no physical evidence to validate your efforts. It is in these moments that you are stripped of the need for approval and validation from others. This is where the core of who you are shines through. It's in your decision to trust God even when everything seems impossible. It's in your quiet surrender when you have no strength left to keep fighting, but you choose to remain faithful anyway. The true self is not defined by how well you can perform in front of others. It's defined by the authenticity of your heart when no one is looking. It's easy to get caught up in the idea of performing for others. We live in a world that values outward success and public achievement, where what we show others often becomes more important than what we feel inside. We are conditioned to think that the louder our faith, the more visible our victory, the more real our belief is. But this couldn't be further from the truth. God doesn't look at the outward appearance the way the world does. He doesn't care about your performance or how perfectly you can present yourself. He cares about your heart. He cares about the times when you felt empty, when you've been broken, when the weight of the world was on your shoulders and you still chose to trust in Him. He cares about how you remain when there are no cameras, no audience, no applause, when everything seems dark and you're alone in your thoughts. That's when God sees you clearly. That's when He sees the purity of your faith. The truth is, the performed self is not who you are at your core. It's a facade, a version of you that seeks approval and validation from the world. It's a performance meant to meet the expectations of others, to prove to the world that you have it all together. But God isn't impressed by that version of you. He's not looking for someone who can perform faith perfectly. He's looking for someone who can be real even in the midst of uncertainty and struggle. He's looking for the raw, authentic you, the one who chooses to remain faithful even when things aren't going well, the one who surrenders, who admits their weaknesses, and who continues to trust God even when it feels like the world is falling apart. This is the person God is calling you to be, not the one who performs for an audience, but the one who lives out their faith authentically, no matter what. Your true self The one God sees in those hidden, unguarded moments is the person you are meant to be. It is the one who chooses God even when there's no external reward, no validation, and no recognition. This is where your true strength lies, in your ability to surrender to God. When it's hard to remain faithful, when it feels impossible, and to keep trusting Him when everything around you seems uncertain. When there's no one else around, when you've got nothing left to prove, that's when God sees who you truly are. That is the person you are becoming, the one who doesn't need approval from anyone except God. And it's in these private moments, when the world is silent, and God is watching, that your promotion begins. When you stop performing for others and start living for God. That's when you step into your true destiny. So chosen one, stop worrying about what others see. Stop seeking validation from the world. You don't need to perform for anyone. What God is waiting for is your heart, your authentic, raw, unguarded self. That's what qualifies you for the next season of your life. Your true self is revealed when there are no witnesses, no evidence, and no expectations. And that is the version of you that God treasures, the one He is preparing for something greater. As we delve deeper into this journey of understanding your divine qualification, it's important to recognize something powerful: the forgotten moments. Those moments that you thought were insignificant moments that seemed like failures. Moments when you felt isolated and alone are the very moments that qualify you for the next season of your life. These moments often occur in specific places, sitting in your car on the bathroom floor or standing at the edge of something caught between two choices. These places, these spaces become sacred because it is here that you are stripped of all pretense. It is here in the quiet that God reveals who you truly are. You might not even remember these moments with clarity, and you might label them as failures, as times when you fell short. But in reality, these are the moments that matter most in God's eyes. They are the moments where your true character is revealed, where your authenticity, your surrender, and your unwavering trust in God come to the surface. These are the moments that prepare you for everything that's coming next. When you are alone in your car, perhaps feeling defeated after a long day, or overwhelmed by circumstances, it might feel like nothing more than a quiet moment of reflection. But God is in that space with you, watching your heart, seeing how you react when the world isn't watching. You may be exhausted, your thoughts racing, but in that silence, when you choose to stay connected to God and trust Him, that is where the divine turning points happen. The same is true when you're alone on the bathroom floor, feeling like you can't go on any longer, when the weight of life feels too much to bear. These are the moments that seem unimportant in the grand scheme of things. There is no audience, no applause, no external validation. And yet it is precisely in these moments, when everything else fades away, that God sees the truth of who you are. These moments of surrender, when you feel like giving up, but choose to remain faithful anyway, are the ones that matter most. They don't come with visible success, but they come with a depth of heart that God treasures. Standing at the edge, whether physically or emotionally, is another place where God meets you. The edge represents those threshold moments when you're standing between two choices, unsure of what lies ahead. Maybe you're deciding whether to move forward in your faith, to take a leap of trust, or to surrender control of your life to God. These moments feel intense because they force you to make a decision whether to stay where it's comfortable or to step out in faith despite the uncertainty. It's in these moments that your true character is revealed. When no one is looking, when there's no external pressure to perform, the choices you make in these quiet, sacred spaces are the ones that define your future. These forgotten moments, the ones you might have brushed aside as insignificant, are where the transformation takes place. These are the moments when you're exhausted, when you feel like you've hit a wall, and when the weight of the world seems to bear down on you. You might not even realize it at the time, but in these moments, you are making decisions that will shape your destiny. When everything around you is quiet, when there's no one to cheer you on, and you feel like you're barely holding it together, it is here that God is shaping your heart. He's watching how you respond when no one else is around. Are you staying faithful? Are you choosing to trust Him even when you don't have the strength to stand? These moments reveal your heart. They reveal who you are when you think no one is watching. And it is in these moments that God qualifies you for the next level. They are divine turning points, moments of hidden strength that prepare you for everything God has in store for you. So, chosen one, don't dismiss these moments as failures. Don't let the enemy convince you that they were insignificant. God is not looking at your outward performance. He is looking at your heart in these hidden spaces. He is watching how you respond when you have nothing left to give. And in that moment, when you thought you couldn't go on, but chose to remain faithful anyway, you passed the test. You were qualified for the next season of your life. These forgotten moments, these moments of surrender, are the ones that carry the most weight in heaven. They are the moments that prepare you for the promotion that's coming next. And they are the moments that God treasures the most. So embrace them and know that in your vulnerability, in your honesty, and in your surrender, God is doing something powerful in you. These moments are not insignificant. They are the divine turning points that will shape your future. As we conclude this journey of understanding, it's important to realize the true nature of God's test. This test wasn't about how much you endured, how many times you got back up, or how long you stood strong. It wasn't about your outward strength or the visible victories you claimed. The real test, the one that matters in God's eyes, was about who you remained in the process. It was about whether you stayed connected to Him, whether you continued to trust and surrender, even when everything seemed uncertain. God's perspective is not based on outward performance. He is not looking for someone who can keep up appearances, who can act strong in front of others. What God is looking for is honesty, surrender, and authenticity. He is looking for the raw, real you, the one who remains faithful when the world is silent, when there's no audience to cheer you on. The true passing moment wasn't the one when you stood up in front of a crowd and declared your faith. It wasn't the moment when you were applauded or validated by others. The moment that passed the test was the quiet, private one. The moment when you surrendered, when you admitted that you had nothing left to give, and yet you still chose to trust God. That was the moment that sealed your promotion. That is the moment that qualifies you for everything that's coming next. Now that God has seen your heart, He is ready to release promotion over your life, but not in the way you may expect. This promotion isn't about public recognition or a visible breakthrough. God is promoting you to hidden authority, to invisible influence, to underground impact. You might not see the immediate effects of this promotion in the way the world measures success. But make no mistake, this promotion is significant in God's kingdom. You are being positioned for influence in places that may never be seen by human eyes, but that doesn't make it any less impactful. You will be entrusted with authority in spaces where your faithfulness will speak volumes even when no one else is watching. The enemy will try to distract you to make you believe that you need to perform, that you need to prove your worth through visible actions. But the key to this promotion is not performance. It is staying real, staying authentic, and continuing to trust God even when no one else can see the struggle. The world may measure success by what is seen, but God's measure of success is far deeper. It's about what is unseen, what is hidden and what is done in the quiet, surrendered moments. And now, as you step into this new season of hidden authority, let's seal this moment with a prayer. Father, we thank you for the journey you have brought the listener through. We thank you for seeing their heart, for noticing the quiet, hidden moments that revealed their true character. We seal this truth into their spirit, that they are seen, known, and promoted, not for their performance, but for their authenticity. We declare that the moments of surrender, the moments of quiet strength, have qualified them for a new level of authority, a new level of influence. Lord, we ask for your protection over their next season, that they would walk forward with confidence and humility, trusting that your plans are always greater than anything they can see. Help them to stay rooted in authenticity, to resist the urge to perform for the world, and to embrace the hidden influence you have called them to carry. May they walk with peace, knowing that their promotion is secure in you. In Jesus' name, amen. Now, chosen one, as you step into this next chapter, remember that you are not moving forward because of your visible victories, your public declarations, or your performance. You are stepping into this new season because you have remained real, because you have surrendered, and because you have stayed faithful when no one was watching. God sees you, He knows you, and He is promoting you to a place of hidden authority and impact. Walk forward with confidence, knowing that your authenticity is what qualifies you for the next great chapter of your life.